I hired a pie to find my husband after I cheated. What happened next humiliated me publicly. I never thought I'd be the villain in my own story, but here we are. My name doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that 3 weeks ago, my husband Theo disappeared without a word, and instead of calling the police like a normal person, I did something monumentally stupid. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Theo and I had been married 7 years. Met at an art exhibition where his glasswork was featured. I was there with teacher friends, trying to look cultured on a Friday night. He was this quiet intensity in the corner, watching people react to his pieces rather than networking like the other artists. When I complimented his work, he actually blushed. Said my opinion meant more because I wasn't trying to buy anything. I fell for him hard. The sensitive artist who saw beauty in melted sand and broken things. We got married 2 years later. I had my stable teaching job at Rosewood Academy, one of those private schools where parents drive Teslas and kids have trust funds. I taught music to elementary kids, which sounds sweet until you realize half these parents think their tone-deaf offspring are the next Mozart. Theo converted our garage into a studio, spent his days creating these incredible sculptures that barely paid the bills. I didn't mind being the breadwinner. I liked taking care of him. That was the narrative I told myself, anyway. The truth? Somewhere around year 5, I got bored. Theo would disappear into his studio for 12-hour stretches, emerging covered in burns and cuts, excited about some new technique he'd discovered. I'd try to share my day, the funny things kids said, drama with parents, and he'd nod absently, already mentally back with his glass. We became roommates who occasionally sleep together. Enter Paxton. He walked into my classroom last February for parent-teacher conferences. Recently divorced, concerned about his daughter Stella's adjustment. Tall, silver-streaked hair, the kind of attention that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. We talked for an hour about Stella. Then another hour about everything else. Coffee meetings followed. To discuss Stella's progress. Then drinks. To celebrate her improved confidence. Then a hotel room on a Thursday afternoon when Theo was at a gallery 2 towns over. I'm not justifying it. Just explaining how I became someone I didn't recognize. Paxton made me feel wanted in a way Theo hadn't in years. Every text from him sent electricity through me. Every stolen afternoon felt like reclaiming something I'd lost. 8 months of sneaking around. 8 months of deleting texts, clearing browser history, keeping 2 sets of emotional books. I'd kiss Theo goodbye, drive to work, and spend lunch in Paxton's bed. The guilt was there, but it was manageable. Compartmentalized. Then 3 weeks ago, everything shifted. I came home from work on a Tuesday. Theo's studio was locked, weird, since he never locked it. His truck was gone. His phone went straight to voicemail. I figured he'd gone to source materials or meet a client. But he didn't come home that night. Or the next. By day 3, I was genuinely concerned. By day 5, terrified. This wasn't like him. Even when consumed by work, he'd surface for meals, for sleep. I called his brother in Colorado, nothing. Called his best friend, hadn't heard from him. The gallery that showed his work said he'd canceled his upcoming exhibition. The police said adults have the right to leave. Without signs of foul play or mental illness, they wouldn't investigate. Probably needed space, the officer said, looking at me with something like pity. Happens more than you'd think. That look haunted me. Did he know? Had Theo found out? I went through everything. Bank accounts were untouched. His clothes were still here. But his favorite tools were gone. His notebook of designs. The piece he'd been working on for months, a massive spiral of blues and greens he called dissolution. Paxton told me not to panic. Said if Theo knew, he would have confronted me, not just vanished. Men don't just disappear when they discover affairs, he said. They explode. But Theo wasn't most men. He was methodical. Patient. The kind of person who'd spend weeks on a single piece, heating and cooling glass hundreds of times until it was perfect. The kind of person who might plan something worse than an explosion. 2 weeks into his disappearance, I made the decision that would destroy everything. I needed to find him before he found me. The idea came from Paxton, though he'd probably deny it now. We were in his apartment, a sleek downtown loft nothing like the suburban house he'd shared with Eleanor. I was crying, which had become my default state by then. 2 weeks without a word from Theo. 2 weeks of pretending everything was fine at work while my insides churned with equal parts guilt and fear. You need professional help, Paxton said, pouring himself scotch. It was 2 p.m. on a Saturday. Stella was at her mother's for the weekend. Not therapy. I mean someone who finds people. Like a private investigator? Exactly. Someone discreet. Off the books. The way he said it, casual but specific, made me wonder if he'd done this before. But I was too desperate to care about red flags. My husband had evaporated like steam, and every day that passed felt like another turn of a screw I couldn't see. I found the pie through a forum for family reconciliation services, code for stalking your ex legally. Posted from a throwaway account, need help locating missing husband, will pay cash, discretion essential. Within hours, my inbox flooded with replies. Most seemed like scams. One stood out. I specialize in delicate situations. No judgment. No paper trail. Results guaranteed. We met at a diner off the interstate. The guy looked like every pie cliché, mid-50s, stubbled, coffee-stained shirt. Called himself Morrison. No first name offered. He listened to my story without expression, occasionally jotting notes in a water-damaged notebook. $3,000 up front, he said. Another $2,000 when I find him. I'd pulled the cash from different ATMs over several days. Handed it over in an envelope that shook in my hands. Felt like a drug deal. Probably was, in a way. I was buying myself time to figure out what Theo knew, what he planned. Morrison wanted details. Theo's routines, friends, favorite places. I told him about the cabin Theo's family owned upstate. The supplier in Vermont where he bought specialized glass. His college roommate in Boston. Even mentioned the storage unit across town where he kept overflow pieces. What about enemies? Morrison asked. Anyone who'd want to hurt him? No. Theo doesn't make enemies. He barely makes friends. What about you? Anyone who'd want to hurt you through him? The question hung there. Paxton's ex-wife Eleanor flashed through my mind. But she didn't know about us. Nobody did. We'd been so careful. No, I lied. Nothing like that. Morrison said he'd be in touch. 3 days later, he called from a blocked number. Got a lead. Your boy used his credit card at a hardware store in Riverside. Bought camping supplies. Looks like he's gone off-grid. Riverside was 4 hours north. Made sense. Theo always said he did his best thinking in nature. But here's the interesting part, Morrison continued. He withdrew $10,000 cash before he left. Whatever he's planning, he doesn't want it traced. My stomach dropped. $10,000 was most of our emergency fund. The account was in both our names, but I handled the finances. I hadn't even checked it. There's more. Found his truck on traffic cams heading toward the mountains. But then it doubles back toward the city same day. Like he was creating false trails. Or like someone else was driving it back, I said. Maybe. I'll keep digging. But this isn't a guy having a breakdown. This is calculated. That night, Paxton held me while I spiral theorized. What if Theo had been planning to leave me anyway? What if this had nothing to do with the affair? What if he'd met someone else? Stop, Paxton said, kissing my forehead. You're driving yourself crazy over nothing. He probably just needed space to process something. Artists are like that. But he didn't know Theo. My husband didn't process. He planned. Every piece he created started with dozens of sketches, temperature calculations, chemical formulas for colors. He'd spend weeks preparing before touching his first piece of glass. Morrison called again 3 days later. Said he'd tracked Theo to a motel near the state line. Had photos of him entering a room. Alone. Want me to approach him? No. Just watch him. Tell me what he does. I wired another $1,000 for extended surveillance. Told myself I was protecting both of us. If Theo was planning something, I needed to know. Morrison sent updates twice a day. Theo at a coffee shop, laptop open. Theo meeting with someone Morrison couldn't identify. Theo loading boxes into a rental van. Then yesterday, Morrison's messages stopped. His phone went straight to voicemail. His email bounced back. This morning, I found out why. The doorbell rang at 6 a.m. Nobody rings doorbells at 6 a.m. unless someone's dead or arrested. I stumbled downstairs in Theo's old Columbia shirt, still wore it to bed, pathetic as that sounds, and peered through the peephole. Nobody there. On the doorstep sat a single padded envelope. No postage. No address. Just my first name written in Theo's precise handwriting. My hands trembled as I tore it open. Inside, a USB drive and a sticky note. Watch alone. I ran upstairs, laptop already opening before I hit the bed. The drive contained one video file. 23 minutes long. I clicked play. The screen showed Morrison sitting across from someone in what looked like a bar. The angle was weird, like the camera was hidden at chest level. Then the other person leaned forward, and my blood turned to ice water. Theo. But not the Theo I knew. This version sat straight-backed, confident. He was wearing a suit I'd never seen, hair cut sharp. He looked like someone who made decisions that ruined people. The timestamp showed 2 weeks ago. 3 days before I hired Morrison. "She'll contact you within the week," Theo said on the video, sliding a folder across the table. "This is everything about her routines. Where she'll want you to search. How she'll pay you." Morrison thumbed through pages. I recognized my own photo, daily schedule, even screenshots of my browser history. "You want me to take her money and report back to you?" "Every word. Every meeting. Record everything." "This is entrapment, buddy." "No, it's documentation. She's looking for me because she needs to know what I know. And now I'll know exactly how desperate she is to find out." Morrison laughed. Actually laughed. "Hell of a thing, catching your wife cheating." "I'm not catching her. I caught her 4 months ago." 4 months. When I thought I was being so clever, so careful. 4 months of him knowing while I played house. Shared iPad, Theo continued on video. She forgot to log out of her messages. Saw everything. The photos she sent him. The things they said about me. My stomach heaved. The photos. Christ, the photos. "So why the elaborate setup?" Morrison asked. "Because she's not just a cheater. She's a planner. Strategic. She'll try to get ahead of this, control the narrative. But every move she makes thinking she's protecting herself will actually be evidence of consciousness of guilt. When someone hires a PI to find their missing spouse, what does that suggest? That they're worried. Or that they're establishing an alibi. Poor concerned wife, so desperate to find her husband she hired professional help." The video jumped to another timestamp. A week later. Morrison was showing Theo photos of me at the ATM pulling cash, me at our meeting in the diner, me leaving Paxton's apartment with my hair still messy. "She's still seeing him," Morrison reported. "Even while playing the worried wife." Perfect. Keep feeding her what she wants to hear. Tell her I'm acting strange, leaving false trails. Make her paranoid. Another jump. Morrison and Theo in what looked like Theo's rental van. "Tomorrow you go dark," Theo said. "Stop responding completely. She'll panic." What's the endgame here? Friday night. Rosewood Academy fundraising gala. Her biggest professional night of the year. Board members, donors, parents, everyone who matters to her reputation. You're going to expose her there? I'm going to give her exactly what she's been looking for. The truth about where I've been and what I've been doing. The video cut to security footage from inside our house. Our bedroom. Theo installing something behind the dresser mirror. Another angle, him placing something inside the kitchen light fixture. Another, him at his computer, downloading files, organizing folders labeled with dates. The final scene was Theo speaking directly to the camera. Yesterday's date stamp. By the time you watch this, Morrison has given me everything I need. Your meetings, your payments, your instructions to track me down. All recorded. All documented. You hired a man to hunt me, never knowing I'd already caught him. And you. The gala is tomorrow night. Wear something nice. It'll be the last time those people see you as respectable. Oh, and check your closet. I left you something to wear. Consider it a parting gift. The video ended. I ran to our closet, shoved aside my dresses. There, on Theo's empty side, hung a single garment bag. Inside was a black dress I'd never seen before. The tag was still on. The brand name, Dissolution. The same name as his final glass piece. I wore the dress. Call it defiance, denial, or just plain stupidity, but I zipped myself into Theo's gift and walked into that gala like I owned the place. If he wanted a show, he'd get one. Besides, what was he going to do? Stand up in a room full of Rosewood's elite and announce his wife was having an affair? He'd humiliate himself as much as me. The ballroom at the Meridian Hotel gleamed with everything money could buy. Ice sculptures, orchid centerpieces, champagne that cost more than most people's car payments. I smiled at parents, laughed at the principal's bad jokes, gave my prepared remarks about the music program's achievements. Normal. Professional. Untouchable. My mother sat at the donors' table, pride radiating from her perfectly Botoxed face. She'd bought a table for her book club friends. My daughter, the teacher at Rosewood, she never stopped saying, like it was her own accomplishment. Paxton wasn't there, we'd agreed it would be too suspicious. But Eleanor was. She'd volunteered for the auction committee, because of course she had. She waved at me, friendly and oblivious. My stomach turned. I was midway through introducing the board president when the ballroom doors opened. Theo walked in like he'd been invited. That same sharp suit from the video, same confident stride. But now Morrison flanked him, carrying a laptop bag. Behind them, 2 more men I didn't recognize. They moved with purpose toward the AV booth. "Excuse me," I managed into the microphone. "It seems we have." "No need to stop," Theo said, his voice carrying without amplification. "Please, finish your introduction. I'll wait." The board president looked between us, confused. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Everyone knew Theo, the quiet artist husband who rarely attended school events. "Actually," Theo continued, walking toward the stage, "since we're doing introductions, let me save time. I'm Theo Reeves. Some of you know me as the husband of your music teacher here. Tonight, I have a brief presentation about trust, accountability, and the importance of knowing who teaches your children." My legs wouldn't move. The microphone hung limp in my hand. He took it gently, fingers brushing mine. "You look beautiful," he whispered, then turned to the crowd. 3 weeks ago, I disappeared. My wife was so concerned, she hired this gentleman to find me. He gestured to Morrison. What she didn't know was that he already worked for me. The projector screen descended behind us. The lights dimmed. "I've prepared a short presentation. Consider it educational." The first slide, my text to Paxton. Not explicit, but damning. Plans to meet. Complaints about Theo. Hearts and kiss emojis. The timestamp showed school hours. "These are from your music teacher's phone. During school hours. While your children were in her care." Parents shifted in their seats. Phones appeared, pointed at the screen. Next slide, hotel receipts. My credit card statements highlighted. The Marriott charges matched dates I'd claimed to be at teaching conferences. "Continuing education is so important," Theo said. "Though I'm not sure this is what the school board had in mind." Eleanor stood up, face draining of color. She was starting to piece it together. Audio began playing through the speakers. My voice, talking to Morrison. "I need to find him before anyone realizes what's been happening. Can you make sure he hasn't talked to anyone? I'll pay extra." "Consciousness of guilt," Theo said. "Legally speaking." The screen filled with security footage from the school parking lot. Me getting into Paxton's car. His hand on my thigh. A kiss that went on too long. "Parent-teacher conference," Theo narrated. "Very thorough." Someone gasped. The board president stood up. My mother's hand covered her mouth. "But here's my favorite part," Theo said. The screen showed an email I'd sent to Paxton. Subject line, "Last night was incredible." The body of the email was blurred, but the subject was enough. "The timestamp is interesting," Theo noted. "Sent during 5th grade music class. While teaching Ode to Joy, apparently." The principal was walking toward the stage now, face grim. Parents were standing, talking, some already heading for exits. Eleanor was on her phone, tears streaming. "I have 43 minutes of content," Theo announced. "But I think you get the idea. Oh, one more thing." He looked directly at me. The screen went black except for white text. "There's one file I haven't shown. Yet." A new slide appeared. A single video file icon labeled The Miscarriage Night. My knees buckled. I didn't make it to the bathroom before vomiting. Right there, in the Meridian Hotel's marble corridor, designer dress and all. Security tried to help me up, but I couldn't stand. My phone was exploding, calls, texts, notifications. The board president's assistant handed me tissues while actively avoiding eye contact. "The board will convene Monday," she said. "Don't come to campus until then." Through the ballroom doors, I could hear Theo still talking. Calm. Measured. Destroying me with the patience of someone who'd rehearsed every word. My phone buzzed. "Paxton, what the F word did you do?" Then another, "Eleanor knows everything. She's taking Stella and going to her sister's." Another, "I'm calling my lawyer. Delete my number. We never happened." The coward. The absolute coward. 3 minutes of public exposure and he folded like wet paper. I stumbled to my car, hands shaking too hard to unlock it. That's when I saw Morrison leaning against a nearby sedan. Hell of a show, he said, lighting a cigarette. Your husband paid me triple what you did, by the way. No hard feelings. You're a bastard. I'm a businessman. But hey, free advice? That file he mentioned, the miscarriage night, he's got footage from Paxton's security system. You showing up at his house at 2 a.m. while his wife was in the hospital. Doesn't look good. How is that even legal? Paxton's house, Paxton's cameras. Your boyfriend gave Theo access to everything once he realized how deep this went. Threw you under so fast I got whiplash. My phone rang. My mother. Don't come home, she said, voice arctic. I need time to process this. The things that man showed. How could you? She hung up before I could respond. I drove to our house. My house? Theo's house? In a daze. The garage door opener didn't work. My key turned, but the locks had been changed. Through the window, I could see empty spaces where furniture used to be. A note was taped to the door. Your belongings are in Unit 47 at Secure Store on Riverside. Paid through the month. My phone buzzed with an email from the bank. Joint accounts frozen pending divorce proceedings. Credit cards canceled. I had my personal checking account, barely $2,000, and nothing else. Another email. This one from Rosewood's HR department. Subject: administrative leave pending investigation. The group chats were worse. Someone had screen recorded Theo's entire presentation. It was spreading through parent WhatsApp groups like wildfire. Comments poured in. Always thought she was too friendly with the dads. My daughter said she was always on her phone during class. Disgusting. Fire her immediately. Poor husband. He seemed so nice. Eleanor had posted on social media. Not directly naming me, but obvious enough, when you trust your child's teacher and she betrays that trust in the worst possible way. Some people have no shame. 300 comments in 20 minutes. Parents from school piling on. My social media accounts were getting tagged, destroyed. I checked into a Holiday Inn using my personal credit card. The desk clerk recognized me. Her son was in my 3rd grade music class. She handed me the key without making eye contact. The room smelled like industrial cleaner and broken dreams. I sat on the bed, still in the black dress, and opened my laptop. The video of the gala was already on YouTube. Teacher's affair exposed at school fundraiser. 40,000 views in 3 hours. A text from an unknown number. This is Eleanor. I know about the night I lost the baby. I know you were with him while I was bleeding in a hospital bed. You're lucky I don't come find you myself. Another unknown number. Saw the video. You taught my daughter piano. We want our money back. Another. Maybe find a new town. Just a suggestion. At midnight, an email from Theo's lawyer arrived. Divorce papers attached. The terms were simple: sign immediately, walk away with nothing, or that final video goes public. I read through the agreement. He documented everything. My affair wasn't just infidelity, it was abandonment of marital duties, financial deception, those hotel charges, and breach of fiduciary trust, using marital funds for affair expenses. He wanted everything. The house, inherited from his grandmother, never truly mine. The investments, grown from his glass sales, legally his. Even my grandmother's ring, a family heirloom he'd kept in the safe. The only thing he couldn't touch was my teacher's pension. Small mercy. At the bottom of the agreement, a handwritten note, signed by Monday, or the complete files go to Channel 7 News. They're very interested. I poured a glass of hotel wine and opened the envelope I'd been avoiding. Inside was a USB labeled "Watch Alone." The video opened on Theo's face, lit by computer screen glow. He was in his studio. I recognized the tools hanging behind him, the half-finished pieces on shelves. This was recent. Maybe even recorded today. "Hello, Melody," he said. My real name. The one I'd asked him not to use at the gala, keeping that last shred of anonymity. If you're watching this, you've seen the papers. You know the terms. This is the rest. He leaned back, and I saw exhaustion in his eyes for the first time. 4 months ago, I found your messages on the iPad. The photos. The videos. The things you said about me to him. How I was boring. Obsessed with dead art. A financial weight you carried. That one hurt, considering I never asked you to support me. I was building something. Slowly, yes. But building. He picked up a piece of glass, turned it in the light. I could have confronted you then. Screamed, thrown things, demanded answers. But that's not who I am. You know that. It's why you thought you could do this, because quiet men don't fight back, right? The screen shifted to security footage from Paxton's house. Night vision, grainy but clear enough. Me walking up his driveway at 2:17 a.m. The date stamp showed 3 months ago. Eleanor's miscarriage night. His ex-wife from his first marriage reached out to me last month, Theo continued in voiceover. Found me through my website. Wanted to warn me that Paxton had a pattern. 3 schools, 3 teachers, 3 destroyed marriages. You weren't special, Melody. You were just next. The footage showed me at Paxton's door. Him answering in boxers and nothing else. The embrace that followed. All while his wife was losing their child across town. I won't release this. Not because I care about protecting you, but because Eleanor's been through enough. She doesn't need to see this. But you do. You need to know what you are. The scene changed. Theo was meeting with someone off camera. This is Paxton, Theo said. 3 days ago. After I showed him what I had. Paxton's voice, panicked. She pursued me. Constantly. Wouldn't leave me alone. I tried to keep it professional, but she threatened to fail Stella if I didn't. Stop, Theo's voice interrupted. I have the texts. I know who started it. But the fact that you're willing to lie about it, to throw her under completely? That tells me everything. What do you want? Access to your security footage. All of it. Done. And you end it. Tonight. No explanation, no closure. Just done. Already did. Blocked her number an hour ago. The video cut back to Theo in his studio. He gave you up instantly. Didn't even negotiate. You lost your marriage, your career, and your reputation for a man who deleted you like spam email. He stood, walked to something off camera. Returned with a box. These are your things. The ones that mattered. Your father's watch. The journal from college. The necklace from your grandmother. I'm not a monster, Melody. I'm just done being your fool. He sat back down, looked directly into the camera. Sign the papers. Take your pension. Start over somewhere. Or don't sign, and I'll make sure everyone from here to the state capitol knows exactly who you are. The footage from the miscarriage night alone would end any chance of teaching again. He paused, picked up another piece of glass. This one was beautiful, swirls of blue and green, like captured ocean. You know what's funny? My new collection, the one inspired by this whole mess, is already sold out. Galleries in 3 cities want exclusive shows. The piece I was working on when you were sneaking around? A collector bought it for $60,000. Turns out Betrayal makes for compelling art. The screen went black. Then text appeared. The choice, sign and disappear. Or fight and lose everything publicly. You have 48 hours. I closed the laptop. Signed the papers without reading them again. Scanned and emailed them back at 3 a.m. Monday morning, Rosewood fired me. Official reason, moral turpitude clause violation. The union couldn't help, the evidence was too damaging. I teach piano now from a studio apartment 2 states away. Cash only. No social media. Parents Google me occasionally, find the videos, pull their kids from lessons. Last week, I saw an art magazine at the grocery store. Theo on the cover, his glass pieces photographed like jewels. The headline, From Ashes to Art, How Personal Tragedy Fueled a Creative Revolution. Inside, a full spread of his new work. Each piece named after a stage of grief. Beautiful. Devastating. The largest piece, centered in the gallery, was called Liberation. It was the exact blue-green of the dress he'd made me wear. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.